guys, welcome back with me. How are you all, my loyal viewers? After previously discussing the latest action movie, this time we'll shift gears for a moment to an old horror film that's no less interesting, titled The Eye, 2008. Alright, rather than dragging this out, let's just get straight into the discussion. And if you like this channel, as usual, please subscribe. The film begins with a girl who looks panicked after being chased by a group of terrifying little kids. This woman intends to end her life, but suddenly she sees a monster-like figure that sends her flying. What do you think actually happened? Next, we see a beautiful girl named Simi, who resembles Lisa from Blackpink. However, behind every advantage, there's always a drawback. Simi has been blind since the age of 5 due to a car accident. Even so, her limitations haven't stopped her from going about her various activities. Moreover, she has trained her abilities to the highest level. Upon arriving at her apartment, which is so dark, we can see that Simi has never needed electric light to do her various activities. In doing so, she could even save on electricity bills for life. However, this life in darkness won't last forever. After years of waiting, Simi will finally undergo a cornea transplant surgery from a donor willing to donate their eyes. That's why, after the surgery is completed, Simi really hopes the results will match what she has dreamed of. Hearing this, her older sister, named Helen, feels confident that this surgery will be a success.
Help you? Slowly. Good.
And finally, Simi's eyes can see again, although her vision is still not very clear.
Try and reach out.
Is that normal?
That night, Simi woke up and was immediately puzzled when she saw a dark shadow that seemed to be inviting the patient next to her to leave the bed. Fearing something might happen, a worried Simi quickly rushed to check, even though her vision was still very blurry. The strangeness intensified when, upon arriving there, the patient suddenly disappeared without a trace. Instantly, Simi was confused by what she had just experienced. When someone just woke up, she immediately asked about the whereabouts of the patient next to her. However, she was told that the patient had already left the hospital. Then, Simi met with an eye specialist who had been recommended, named Paul. After undergoing the examination, Simi still seemed unable to believe that she could now see. With teary eyes, she felt so happy witnessing this miracle. Which of God's blessings can we deny, while every day we often complain only about trivial things?
Oh, thanks. I put them in.
Not long after, her friends wanted to offer their congratulations on the perfection that Simi had now achieved.
It's your cousin, Sarah. Yeah, I'm gonna go to the kitchen.
In the middle of the lively celebration, Simi, who was not yet used to her vision, suddenly felt a very severe migraine. That night, Simi, who was giving thanks for the blessing of finally being able to see, was suddenly startled when she heard something from the kitchen. Turns out it was all just a dream. However, the strangeness occurred again when she briefly glimpsed the shadow of a room that felt so unfamiliar. The next day, while training her visual abilities, Simi suddenly heard the voice of a little child asking for help. Even though her vision was still a bit blurry, she still tried to find the source of the sound. Driven by curiosity, Simi immediately rushed to check it out. She was startled when she saw a little child wearing a raincoat asking for help.
Your poor guard.
Father will be so mad at me.
Instantly, Simi felt puzzled because the child suddenly disappeared without a trace. Apparently, the boy was one of the restless spirits. That afternoon, during a recording session, Simi apologized to Simon because she had often been unfocused lately. Feeling that Simi was exhausted, Simon intended to take her for coffee at a cafe. Upon arriving there, Simi kept apologizing again because she had been finding it very difficult to concentrate lately. Hearing that, Simon assumed that her newly restored vision was making her brain work harder, so that condition would soon improve. In the middle of their conversation, Simon hurried off to pick up their order first. At that moment, Simi saw a pale-faced girl who said that she couldn't go to heaven because she had sinned too often during her life.
I apologize.
Since that incident, Simi, who was asleep, had another strange vision. When she woke up, the vision now appeared clearer and felt so real, as if trying to give her a clue. What do you think is actually happening to Simi? Okay, the next day, after all the anomalies she kept seeing, Simi finally had her eyes checked by a specialist doctor named Paul. However, based on the examination results, Paul stated that Simi's eye condition looked perfectly normal. He also assumed that what Simi saw was merely hallucinations because she wasn't yet used to using her vision again.
Should have known.
You knew my history when we got engaged.
That night, while watching television, Simi was suddenly puzzled when she saw a round puff of smoke appear from outside her room. What was actually happening? Suddenly, Simi found herself in a place that was being engulfed by fire. How unlucky! Simi realized that she was once again experiencing various strange phenomena. That night, feeling stressed, Simi decided to go for a walk. However, along the way, she was suddenly startled when she saw a crowd of people. Apparently, the person who had just passed by her had died after being hit by a car. Not only that, a terrifying creature with a hideous nose also appeared, seemingly coming to fetch the victim's soul. Upon returning to her apartment, Simi, who was about to take the elevator, felt terrified again when she saw a man standing upright as if he were practicing health protocols. Strangely, on the security camera footage, the bald man's figure was not captured at all. Simi became even more convinced that after receiving the eye donor, she could now see things that others couldn't. Because of that, she decided to take a different elevator. Unfortunately, she wasn't just terrorized by the bald man's spirit. Upon arriving at her apartment room, Simi, overwhelmed with fear, decided to smash all the lights so she wouldn't see those terrifying apparitions anymore.
Are you okay?
A few days later, Paul came to the apartment accompanied by an officer. Worried, He tried to check on Simi's condition, especially since she had been completely unreachable for the past 2 days. When they met, Paul kept trying to calm Simi, who was nearly losing control. As a specialist doctor who had to be reliable, he promised to investigate the abnormality in Simi's eyes, even though it couldn't be explained logically. Meanwhile, when Simi was being treated again at the hospital, she was puzzled when she saw a bald little child saying goodbye to her. Apparently, the boy was now about to move on to the next world. Once again, Simi had to witness someone being taken to the afterlife. This incident further tormented Simi's mental state. Driven by curiosity, she tried to find out about the side effects of organ transplantation from a non-medical perspective. According to the explanation she found, a person who receives an organ donor can acquire memories or visions from the previous organ owner. Not only that, this effect is also believed to be able to influence the recipient's thoughts and emotions. After obtaining that information, Simi intended to tell everything to Paul. The next day, she immediately explained all her research findings. Then, Simi asked Paul for help in finding out the identity of her eye donor so that all the strangeness she was experiencing could finally come to an end. After taking a shower, Simi was suddenly startled when she saw a figure in the mirror that wasn't herself. Now she was even more convinced that the figure standing before her was the previous eye owner. Simi then tried to ask what exactly the girl wanted from her.
I'll find out who she is. Who?
What if the woman she had just seen was indeed her eye donor? Growing even more curious, Simi intended to find out about that woman. The next day, Paul said that he had managed to discover the identity of the donor, named Anna, who lived in Mexico. Hearing that, Paul invited Simi to prepare for a very long overland journey.
You don't know what?
I'll stop the car.
In the middle of the journey, Simi was suddenly startled when she saw a restless spirit with a charred, burnt body. Feeling the figure was getting closer, she asked Paul to speed up the vehicle. Upon arriving at their destination, Simi was puzzled when she saw various writings full of insults that read, "Witch." Not only that, Anna's house was also covered in hateful words from the surrounding residents. Okay, once inside the house, Anna's mother, named Rosa, asked about the purpose of their visit. Then, Simi explained that she just wanted to find out about Anna, who had donated her eyes to her. Hearing that, Rosa was instantly moved upon learning that Simi now had her daughter's eyes. Moments later, Rosa began to tell the story of Anna's life, who since childhood had been known as an introverted person. However, in the middle of their conversation, Simi was suddenly startled when she saw the appearance of a dark figure approaching Rosa. Not long after, sure enough, Rosa suddenly suffered a heart attack. Seeing this, they immediately took Rosa to the hospital. However, when about to leave, Simi, still consumed by curiosity, decided to stay at Anna's house to find out what had really happened. Apparently, the room she had often seen in her visions was Anna's room. Then, another strange occurrence happened. Simi saw the chronology of events before Anna was branded as a witch. At that time, a panicked Anna tried to warn her mother and all the dairy factory employees to leave immediately. Moreover, she saw that all the people were tagged with dark figures. Anna kept saying that everyone in that place would die. However, no one paid any attention to her warning. Until finally, when Rosa arrived, the boss actually asked her to immediately stir the raw materials. From that incident, Rosa became the only person who managed to survive the fire. Meanwhile, Anna was instead considered a witch because she was accused of being the mastermind behind all those events. After experiencing that vision, Simi was suddenly puzzled when she heard a strange sound coming from the basement. Apparently, the basement she had often seen in her visions was indeed in that house. At that moment, Paul arrived and invited Simi to go home. Upon arriving at the border, their journey had to stop because there was an arrest process being carried out by police officers against a perpetrator of violence. Simi, who had just woken up, was suddenly startled when she saw something terrifying. In a panic, she immediately rushed to warn everyone. The panic intensified when she saw an ethanol gasoline tanker truck right in front of them. In the midst of the chaotic situation, no one believed Simi's words that a massive explosion was about to happen. When they saw a little child trapped inside a car,
Stop this bus! Run! Come on, get out of the car!
as a result of this incident, Simi had to endure excruciating pain after her eyes were hit by shards of glass. So, will Simi be alright? Not long after, at the hospital, Simi was told that she had managed to save everyone. However, due to the incident, she had to become blind again. Nevertheless, Simi said that she still felt grateful. She hoped that with her success in saving many people from death, it could serve as a way to calm Anna's spirit in the afterlife.
I know the gift of Anna's sight made me see what I was afraid.
Yep, that's the film, which is quite thrilling. It feels like there's nothing left to explain because everything has been shown very clearly. Behind every shortcoming, there is always an advantage, and behind every advantage, there is also certainly a shortcoming. Maybe that's enough for now. The review and discussion of the film, The Eye, 2008. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on other interesting videos.